Cool.
Okay, hello, Trip Jennings. Why did you want to make Elemental reimagine Wildfire?
Well, I felt like in 2017 when I started this, which feels like so long ago,
Yeah.
there was just this gap between public conversation when really big fires would happen,
Uh,
destructive fires that were scary, and the best available science. I knew like a little bit about it at that point, and I thought, okay, I think there's really something here that we're not getting.
uh,
And there was also something there that I wasn't getting. Like I didn't know exactly where this film was going until I really dove into the research. And I think that was true. Like the more that I researched, the more I realized like, wow, like what we believe about fire and how to survive in a hotter, drier West and how to thrive
mm.
and is so far, it's often the opposite of what I think we really should be doing. And so I was just like, look, I think dying and losing their homes in a completely preventable disaster.
Mm.
And so that's what that's sort of like the path that I take you on in this film, is my understanding, my kind of answering these questions of like, how do we do this?
Oh, so you said it's completely preventable. What are how can we prevent this?
Well, changing, I mean,
Uh,
forgive me, but
we're going in. Yeah.
reimagining our relationship, right, with
Yeah.
fire. We have this belief that the problem is in the forest
Mm.
and that we go to the forest to prevent the problem, right?
Mm.
That problem is just like a hurricane or like a wind event or a rain event, right? We don't have hurricane fighters. Now, we need firefighters, right? We're going to always have firefighters and need them. But this belief that we can stop all wildfires, that's what we need to change, right?
Mm.
And belief that the problem is in the loss of the things that we value the most, like our homes and our families and our people and our communities, right? That's where we need to focus our energy on preventing this problem. So wildfires can continue to happen and they will, but we won't suffer the same losses, right? And so that's changing the way we build our homes, that's changing where we build our homes,
Mm.
and that's changing how we fund all of that too.
Okay. Would you say climate change is the number one challenge we face as a society?
Oh, I mean, I think climate change is it's an existential threat
Mm.
for the way we exist, right?
Mm.
Like there's going to be people, there's going to be societies, but the way that I mean, the way that we live and enjoy our lives right now is deeply threatened by climate change. And this is just an example of that, right? I mean, the destruction has gone parabolic in the last 20 years, couple of decades from fire. Just one example. And so often, yeah, we're sort of like doing the opposite thing that we should be. We're fighting, we're fighting, we're fighting. When in some of this, we just need to accept there's going to be fires. We're going to have some of these impacts, and we need the adaptation strategies that we use to cope with climate change to be reasonable, to work, and to not exacerbate the problem.
Okay. Do you do you feel like we lack the seriousness sometimes to face this challenge like head on?
I mean, I think so. Yeah, sure. I think there's no question that, like, sure, 20 years ago, 50 years ago, when we knew
Mm.
this was a problem, we had the opportunity to make it easier on us now, right?
Right.
But what's happening now that I see from reporting about climate change, multi-threats in my work with PBS and also obviously this feature film, what I see now is people are understanding the seriousness because they have to, because
Mm.
people are losing their homes. People are suddenly, in one night, they went from having this beautiful dream that maybe they'd been working for all their lives to having nothing. They don't have a roof over their head because we as a society didn't prepare properly, right? So I think there's a lot of us who are really taking this seriously and addressing this with the seriousness that it needs. And unfortunately, I think sometimes we are putting that serious energy
Mm.
not in line with the best available science.
Okay. Interesting. And tell me about assembling your talking heads. Why did you want everyone that you included in this?
Oh yeah, great question.
Thanks.
I mean, this was, I think that in this film, we have a group of some of the most forward thinkers and some of the people who are really pushing the envelope and helping us understand climate and fire in a way that almost no one else is, right? And this is they all stand on a massive sort of history of scientific research. Um, but I think that a lot of these scientists are really the vanguard of where we're going with the fire conversation. And I think that the native folks are not only part of that vanguard, but they also represent this very important history um, that we can learn so much from because, it's not with fire, we don't have to completely reinvent our understanding of this, right?
Mm.
We have thousands of years of knowledge of fire that we can look to and learn from as well. So that melding, that's what I wanted to get. I wanted to get, the really lab-based, the peer-reviewed, the
Mm.
science that's pushing this conversation forward, and combine that with this deep roots historic knowledge since time immemorial of Native people who understand fire, and that's what we brought together. And I think that's a very powerful combo.
I think so too. And you also have firefighters
Of
who know something
course.
about it too.
I mean, and firefighters, I think that's maybe you're right. You're right. That's sort of the third leg of the tripod,
Yeah.
right? Because firefighters have that just deep experience every day of their,
Yeah.
fire seasons, which I think provides them a very specific understanding and skill set and
Mm.
sort of mindset. And I think when you combine it with the other two parts of that tripod that we tried to bring together, that's when you get something new and something different. And even though people in fire disagree a lot,
Mm.
I think when you combine those 3 points of view, I think you really do find a thread and a lot of agreement and a lot of alignment towards kind of what we're saying and how we deal with fire, right? Which is you focus on the home out, not the forest in, and
Mm.
that's how we live and thrive in a hotter, drier world.
Interesting. And tell me people about your narrator. Are you happy with the narration you got for your documentary?
Let me just say, okay,
Yeah.
the first time that I heard David Oyelowo, who was MLK and Selma, right? His like
Yeah.
his voice that just comes with this weight. The first time I heard him say wildfire, I just got shivers up my spine. And I was on Zoom, because it was a few years ago with the executive producer, and we just kind of like we're off channel chatting, just like, oh my gosh, this is the person, like this is the voice and so yes, I'm so happy with David's amazing work. Also, he was in the middle of a renovation of his own house when we contacted him, and he said, oh my gosh, I'm going to include this in what I'm doing. Like, I live in Tarzana, I live in a neighborhood in LA that backs up to wildlands, and so I'm going to do this stuff too. Thank you for educating me as well. And so
Oh,
we are
that's
just like,
nice.
this is our guy. I mean, he's amazing. Like, I couldn't be happier. And I think he just adds so much to I think he adds so much to anything he's in, and
Right,
I'm
right,
so
right.
grateful he's in our piece.
That's fantastic. Were there other documentaries you looked to for inspiration?
I mean, you can't make a film, an issue film, without watching like everything on your issue.
All right.
So we watched as much as we could, we read as much as we could,
Mm.
and we felt that there was this. Honestly, we felt that other documentaries did an amazing job of a specific part of the story,
Mm.
um, but we didn't feel like any other films or even books, that we
Mm.
could find hold together what I believe is the direction that this conversation is going about how to live and thrive with more fire in the West. And so that's when we said, okay, there is a need for this film. We're
Mm.
going to produce it. We want to help protect people and sort of people's lives in the form of their homes. And this is the way. This is like the point of intervention in a way, right? Because this doesn't exist yet.
Mm.
And it's what we've talked about. It's like bringing those sort of three legs of the tripod together, those three different
Mm.
perspectives together, finding that narrative thread, but really finding a solution. so many climate films, climate oriented films point out a problem that's very important to point out. Um, but it's a bummer because it's like, what are we going to do? And
Yeah, yeah,
this film is different, right? Because this film says, look, we need to solve climate change, obviously. We need to work on this as a society. And in the meantime, there's a lot we can do to make our homes and our communities safer. There is a real solution to this problem, and we can do it, and we will do it. I mean, I really think we will. Like, we can't continue sustaining the damage that we are every fire season, every year,
all right.
without, politicians, leaders, decision makers, individuals, renters, homeowners, all of that saying, no, we got to do something different. So yeah, so I think, I mean,
Since you have an optimistic outlook, despite the severity of the issue, and it's always nice to have like that call to action, like something concrete. I took a class in documentary film just this semester, and
cool.
this guy was talking about jellyfish documentaries where they lay out a bunch of issues, but then they just sort of lay low and there's no call to action. So I definitely prefer your approach.
I love that jellyfish documentaries. Yeah,
Yeah.
and look, I think it's important. I mean, an expose on an issue that is a problem, right? That's an important offering that documentaries, can
Right.
can help and really meaningfully impact society. That's good, that's important, but that's not what we wanted to do. I just think we have a lot of problems in our lives. Like let's point out some problems and let's figure out what the smartest people out there
Yeah.
believe are the solutions and let's share that information. Because it just is there just is a real
Hmm.
path forward. It's so unusual to find that within the climate context. So, I mean, I think the more people that see this film, the safer we'll be, right? Because
Sure.
and what I really want is I want everybody in one neighborhood to see the film, right? I want someone who lives in a risky place to watch this film and say, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm going to share this with my neighbors. I want my neighbors to get it because the more people that do the things to their homes, and it can start as a weekend
It
project.
can spread like wildfire. Uh
Boom. And there's also just so many good puns. There's so many good puns from fire and bad puns from fire.
right,
But
right.
yeah, I mean, I think let's have the like adaptation spread from house to house, not the fire.
So you said you started working on this in 2017?
Yeah. Yeah.
Long
Um,
road.
what's that?
That's a long road.
Yeah, and I think that's true. I mean, like I remember at one point, I guess it was a previous film, but I was like, oh, this film is taking forever, and this very accomplished director that I was sort of griping or like feeling insecure about and saying, oh, this film's taking forever, and he was like, what, you're 2.5 years in? That's nothing. You're halfway there.
Yeah,
So I mean, it just is the way
yeah, yeah.
really deeply investigating an issue like this
Oh yeah, like
is,
all the best. Like think
it
about
takes
like
so long.
I like those Joshua Oppenheimer documentaries, The Act of Killing and The Look of Silence, and that took forever,
Oh
right?
yeah. Wow. Yeah,
It was like
absolutely.
15 years.
Yeah, totally. And I'm always like, how do you sustain it for 15 years? Even now we're in year six, and I'm like, how did we sustain it? How did we,
Yeah,
But the thing, I mean, when you get to the point of actually showing it and sharing it with people,
yeah, yeah.
seeing people's reactions, it's fun because people do. I think this film has impacted people enough that when people see it, they want to share it. It's like, oh, I have this cool secret that I want to tell people that might help save their lives.
Retweetable.
It's retweetable. It's hard to make, hard to sum up in a tweet thread.
Sure, fair. Yeah, thread maybe. A thread might do it justice. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Trip, thanks very much for your time. It was a lot of fun talking to you today about your documentary Elemental Reimagine Wildfire. What's next for you before I let you go?
Well, the next thing is that it's going to streaming on June 13th. So I'm
Yes.
I'm super excited about that. We've done
Where's the
this
streaming?
really. So it's streaming on Amazon and Apple,
Nice.
and all the other majors. Pre-order is already available on Apple, so go check it out on Apple. That's the best spot. And there's a link from our website, which is um, elementalfilm.com, and you can get to the streaming right there. We're just winding up our theatrical tour of the US, which has been so fun. And so yeah, I mean, it's just we're with this film until kind of till the end.
All right. Well, lots of luck with that, and thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me. Cheers.